From YBR Canada, this is Caught in the Web. I'm Leah, and I'm joined by
Elena, Riti, Nashi, and Sav.
We're a group of high school students who have spent the past semester asking one question. Who are you actually talking to on the other side of your screen?
And a lot of that time isn't just passive scrolling. It's where we laugh, it's where we cry, it's where we connect. It's where some of us confess, I love you for the first time.
For this project, we weren't investigators, we weren't experts, we weren't even university students. But week after week, we asked uncomfortable questions about texting habits, online relationships, late-night calls, and the people's teen trust behind a screen.
Statistic Canada says almost every young Canadian between 15 and 24 is online daily, and more than 90% use social media.
And what we learned is this. The internet connects everyone, but not everyone online is who they say they are.
It's also where people can fake an entire identity at 2 a.m. and we never know.
So we started digging, not as experts, but as teens who realized we'd never been asked these scary questions before.
Content warning. Before we continue, we want to share a brief content warning. This episode discusses online grooming, exploitation, and manipulation. Listener discretion is advised. If anything in this episode feels overwhelming, or if you need to pause and take a break, please do. Links to free 24-hour support lines in Canada include Kids Help Phone, Cybertip.ca, and NeedHelpNow.ca. They're all in the description. You are never alone. Now let's start. Episode 1. The 5 W's.
We created this podcast to raise awareness about the realities of online predation while sharing our collective stories. So our goal is to educate, empower, and protect those who use online platforms by helping them recognize warning signs, understand potential risks, and navigating digital spaces safely. But the more we researched, the more I realized how easily trust can be built online and how slowly freaking boundaries can change without you noticing.
For me, this topic hit really close to home. I remember getting social media at a young age and thinking it was harmless, just talking to friends and sharing photos and meeting new people.
I mean, everyone around us was doing it.
But looking back now, I realize how little I understood about privacy, manipulation, and how someone can use kindness as a way to gain control.
I feel the same way too. Growing up online felt pretty normal, and messaging strangers didn't feel pretty dangerous. It felt kind of social, actually.
Especially if we had mutuals.
This project kind of forced us to reflect on how much access we give people to our lives without really questioning their intentions.
And the most unsettling part was realizing how common these experiences are. And almost everyone we talked to had a story, whether it happened to them or someone they knew. Like every conversation led to another example. That's when we knew this wasn't just a school project, it was something people needed to hear. It was something way bigger.
This project matters because it's happening now. It was never rare, and it's not distance. It's just a part of online world that we live in every day. Myth busting. Before we start, you might want to think about what you already know about this topic. We're going to play myth busting, where we tell you a myth and you can ask yourself. And if you get it wrong, congrats. That means you're normal. These myths are everywhere. So let's start. Myth 1. This doesn't actually happen here.
False, oh my god, this is so painfully false.
Statistics Canada has entire reports tracking online child sexual exploitation in Canada, and it's not tiny. It's a real category in police-reported crime data. So yeah, this isn't some, quote, other country kind of thing. This is a Canadian thing.
Myth 2. Victims are like little kids, ages 7 to 11. False. When we say kids, people picture elementary school. But actually, the risk spikes when you get your first real independence online.
In Canadian police reports, data for 2023, the majority of victims of online sexual offense against children were 12 to 17, so like high school and middle school kids. That's the main age group showing up in the victim tables. Which is pretty terrifying because 12 to 15 is literally the age where apps say, quote, you have to be 13. And everyone's like, 12 and 13 is close enough. We even asked people in public, how old were you when you got access to social media?
I was in my early 20s when Facebook was around. I had a MySpace account before that. Got social media when I was 12.
Look, I think I was 21.
So I'd be around maybe 11 or 12.
Based on my age, because I'm 50 now, so I was in my late 20s, it was probably fine.
Myth 3. You'll notice immediately that person is a predator.
False. Everyone thinks that predators have a stereotypical predator look, like older guy, weird vibes, obvious creep.
But grooming doesn't start as creepy. It starts as normal. It starts as funny. It starts as you get me.
And the internet makes strangers feel familiar pretty fast, especially in like those private chats. Cybertip.ca has literally been warning us that a lot of teen harm is happening behind closed chats, meaning private messages is a key place where all of this plays out. Myth 4. Boys do not get targeted. False. This one is so damaging because it makes boys feel like they can never say anything, like ever.
And predators know that. Silence is basically free cover.
Canadian police reported victim tables for 2023 show that victims include both boys and girls. It's never not just one gender.
And even beyond police data, teen victimization research shows it's happening across the board in private messaging spaces.
Myth 5. If you don't send nudes, you're safe.
False. They can blackmail you with your face, your school, your friends list, your username, your cousin's profile picture, whatever they have.
And it's not always nudes. Sometimes it's pressure for anything, then threats.
And just to ground this in what happens, teens reports. The Canadian Centre for Child Protection released findings surveying nearly 1,300 Canadian teens who were sexually victimized online, saying private messaging environments were the primary facilitator of harm, and Snapchat was the most commonly cited platform. Myth 6. Discord is automatically safe because it's just servers, right?
False. Private doesn't mean protected.
Servers can feel like a friend group until someone starts DMing you like you're the only one in the world.
Cybertip.ca reported that over a 3-year span, reports including Discord rose 26% compared to 2021 and 317% compared to 2019. I mean, we're not saying Discord equals evil. We're saying it's a place where a lot of reports exist and has features that can be used. Discord is amongst one of the most reported platforms today. To wrap everything up, myth busting is done. Now let's do the 5 W's, because if we keep believing the myths, we keep walking into the same traps.
Why? Honestly, before this project, I thought online predation was something that happened to other people. I believed that if someone was smart enough, careful enough, it just wouldn't happen to them.
Same. I thought you just know. Literally, why do people want to talk to strangers? Why do people target others online? Is it for self-pleasure or truly something more evil?
I mean, why do people want to talk to strangers online? Honestly, because online is built to make strangers feel familiar. In Canada, almost all young people aged 15 to 25 are online. 99% used the internet in 2022, and 91% use social network sites. So it's not like you're choosing some weird rare lifestyle. This is just where everyone else is.
And it's not just I'm bored. It's also like your brain wants connection, and the apps are literally designed to give you connection fast. There's a thing called intensive social media use, basically be in contact online almost all day. And among Canadian students aged 11 to 15, 38% of girls and 30% of boys reported that kind of constant use. It ramps up as you get older too. So yeah, a stranger DM isn't a random event. It's built into the environment.
Plus, strangers don't always come up as strangers. They start as mutuals, a teammate, someone in a server, someone who comments on your story, someone who seems normal. And when you're online that much, you're also more likely to run into stuff you didn't ask for. StatsCan found young people 15 to 24 were more likely to be exposed to intimate images or videos online. Like 5% say they saw that kind of content daily, and more saw it monthly or yearly. So the internet normalizes a lot really fast.
Sometimes it's deeper than boredom. Sometimes it's loneliness. Statistics Canada found out that youth who had more difficulty making friends were likely to be cyberbullied. It was 23% for youth who said they had no difficulty, but it climbed to 35% for youth who had a lot of difficulty or couldn't make friends. So if real life feels awkward or lonely, online strangers make it feel like a relief. It doesn't mean you're stupid, it just means you're human.
But here's the scary part. The exact same reasons strangers feel comforting are why predators use the same setting. A Canadian Centre for Child Protection Survey report says it's estimated that nearly 1/3 of 13 to 18-year-olds in Canada have experienced some form of online sexual violence, and 86% of teen victims were harmed in private. Messaging environments like DMs, private chats, the place that feels safe.
So yeah, people talk to strangers because connection is easy, instant, and sometimes it fills a gap. But knowing why doesn't mean you stop connecting. It just means you stop letting a stranger become your entire world in private. Because if someone needs secrecy, urgency, or isolation to keep talking to you, that's not a friendship, that's a setup. Okay, another question time. Why do people target others online? Is it for self-pleasure or is it something more evil? I feel like the honest answer is sometimes it is for self-pleasure. Like straight up. Some people get sexual gratification from flirting with minors, collecting images, pushing boundaries, or making someone do something they don't want to do. But even when it starts as, quote, sexual, the part that keeps showing up under its power, because the point isn't just the content, it's the control. It makes someone feel like they can't say no. And sometimes it isn't even about sex, it's about money. Sextortion can be a profit thing. They want a photo, a face pic, anything they can weaponize, and then they flip into threats. Pay me or sending this to your friends. That's not a relationship. That's a scam that uses fear as a business model.
Then there's the version people don't want to talk about: status and cruelty. Some people target others for clout, to embarrass someone, to expose them, to share private stuff as a joke. And when it's peers, like classmates or exes, it can be revenge, jealousy, or just straight up lacking empathy.
And sometimes it's obsession. Some people are lonely, angry, or rejected, and online makes it easy to fixate on someone. They can watch your stories, learn your schedule, DM you every night, and slowly make it feel normal. That's why it can start looking like attention and end looking like harassment.
So, is it self-pleasure or something more evil? Sometimes it is self-pleasure, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's cruelty. But the common thread is this: online targeting is usually about control plus opportunity. A person who wants something and a platform that makes it easy to reach you, pressure you, and disappear. And just because the motive isn't movie villain evil doesn't mean the impact is small. It can still wreck someone's life.
What? Now we've talked about the big why. Let's talk about what. What ways do they get us, like changing platforms, names, and like information? What can also be like what ways to prevent, and also what laws are there to help people who are victims?
Okay, this is one of the biggest ones. How do they get us online? Not like snatching you through the screen, more like slowly turning normal things into leverage. And a huge part of this is platform switching, name switching, and information collecting. Because every little change makes it harder for you to track what's happening, and easier for them to control it. Let's start with the most common move: platform hopping. It sounds harmless, like Snap is easier, or Discord is better, or text me, I don't check Insta. But it's not just convenience, it's strategy. Because when you move platforms, you also move into spaces with different rules, different reporting systems, sometimes disappearing messages, sometimes private servers, sometimes voices chats with no face. And the more private it gets, the more it starts feeling like it's just you and them, and nobody else can reality check it.
And if you've ever heard Add My Backup, that's another classic. They'll have an alt account, a Finsta, a second Snap, a new Discord, like, oh, this is my main, this is my private, this is my old account. Sometimes it's because they got reported, sometimes they're making you hide them from your parents, sometimes they just want options. Because if you block them, they don't disappear. They just reappear as somebody new. And if you don't recognize that pattern, it can mess with your head, like, wait, why do you have 3 accounts? Why do you keep changing your name? That's not normal behavior. That's someone trying to stay untraceable.
Then there's the part that feels the most normal while it's happening: information collecting. It usually starts with tiny questions, ones you would answer without thinking. What school do you go to? What grade are you in? What area do you live in? What's your last name? Do you have any siblings? What's your other account? Each question by itself doesn't feel dangerous, but together it becomes a profile. And the scariest part is they don't need your whole address. They just need enough to make you feel like they know you, enough to scare you, enough to find your friends list, enough to look you up.
And they don't just collect information with question. They collect it by watching you. Stories, posts, bios, location tags, school sweaters, a photo in front of a sign, a happy birthday post from a friend. Even if you don't post a lot, someone close to you might. So sometimes the leverage doesn't come from what you sent them, it comes from what was already public. That's why people get hit with threats like, I know your school, or I'm sending this to your friends, even when they think they haven't shared anything, because the interest shares things for you.
And then this is where it turns from weird into dangerous. Comes to isolation. The lines that sound romantic or protective, but are actually control. Don't tell your parents, they'll literally freak out. Your friends wouldn't understand. This is just between us. Because secrecy is the whole point. If nobody knows, nobody can pull you out. And once you're isolated, that's when the switch can happen. They'll start testing boundaries in small ways, like send a face pic, send a fit check, prove it's you, just once. If you hesitate, they might guilt you. Wow, you don't trust me? And that's their trap. They're turning your boundaries into a character flaw.
And the moment that they get anything, a photo, a screenshot, even a spicy message, that's when they can weaponize it. Because leverage doesn't have to be a nude. Leverage can be your face, your username, your friends list, your school name, a normal photo they can twist. That's why the myth, if you don't send nudes, you're safe, isn't fully true. They can scare you with whatever they have.
Also, watch for urgency. You have 10 minutes. Answer right now. If you block me, I'll post it. That's not because they're emotional. It's because panic stops you from thinking. Urgency is a tactic. It's meant to keep you alone and reacting instead of reaching out.
So, if someone is constantly switching platforms, is constantly changing names, constantly asking for one more thing, it's not mysterious, it's a pattern. More privacy, less proof, more pressure, more control.
And this is the part we want you to remember. If a connection needs secrecy to survive, it's not a healthy connection. If someone keeps moving you into a darker corner of the internet, different apps, different accounts, disappearing messages, ask yourself why. Because real friends don't need you to be untraceable. Predators do. Okay, so now we've talked about how they move you around, how they collect you in pieces, and now the question everybody actually needs. What can we do to prevent it, and what laws exist to help victims? Because be careful is not a safety plan. It's just vibes. Prevention starts with one rule. Reduce private access. Like predators need a private lane to you, so you block the link. That means private accounts, limiting who can DM you, turning off people you may know type suggestions when you can, and being picky with friend requests. Not because you're paranoid, because you're protecting your own space.
And watch for the small asks, because prevention isn't just don't send nudes. It's don't leave the profile. School name and bio, maybe not. Location on stories, turn it off. Posting your school hoodie with the logo, cute, but also searchable. If someone asks what grade you're in, where you live, what your last name is, or wants your other socials, pause. Not every question is evil, but patterns matter.
Here's a huge prevention thing nobody wants to do, but it works. Tell someone early. Not after it explodes. Early. Like, if a convo feels secret, intense, rushed, or isolating, tell a friend, an older sibling, a trusted adult, because predators hate witnesses. The second another person knows, their control drops.
Also, use receipts like a boring adult, screenshot username, profile pics, messages, threats, payment requests, dates. Even if it feels dramatic, even if you're not sure, it counts because if it turns into threats, proof matters. And disappearing messages don't protect you, they protect them.
Okay, now the laws. Because yes, there's actually lots of laws, and you deserve to know them. In Canada, bearing a child is a criminal code offense. In section 172.1, communicating by telecommunication with someone under 18 or believed to be under 18 for the purpose of facilitating sexual offenses. So if someone's DMing a minor with that intent, that's not just messages. That can be a crime.
And if someone shares your intimate images without consent, that's also a criminal code offense. In Section 162, if someone, quote, publishes, distributes, transmits, sells, makes available, or advertises an intimate image without consent or being reckless about consent, so I'll leak it isn't a prank, and leaking it isn't drama, it can be criminal.
And sextortion, like send more or I'll post it, is basically extortion. Canada's Criminal Code Section 346 covers extortion, using threats, menaces to induce someone to do something, to obtain something. So if someone is threatening to expose you to get money, more images, or anything, that's not your fault. That's them committing a crime.
Plus, if it turns into stalking or nonstop messages, that makes you fear for your safety. That can fall under Criminal Harassment Section 264. And if they're threatening harm, Canada has uterine threats Section 264.1, so the law isn't just about pictures. It's also about the fear and threats.
And one really important legal reality. Any sexual image or video of someone under 18 is treated as child sexual abuse/exploitation material under the Criminal Code. That's Section 163.1. So if you're under 18 and someone is pressuring you for images, they're not asking for something, quote, normal. They're dragging you into something illegal and harmful. Now, what if you need protection fast, even before a full criminal case? There's something called a peace bond under Criminal Code Section 810. It's basically a court order used when you fear someone may commit an offense, like sharing intimate images, so conditions can be put in place, like no contact. That's not a you are ruining your life thing. That's a safety thing.
And since we're literally in BC, there's also BC specific option that's a huge for getting images taken down.
Yes, so in British Columbia, they have an Intimate Image Protection Act. It creates civil options to stop the non-consensual sharing of intimate images, including easier process to get images removed and seek compensation to the Civil Resolution Tribunal. The CRT can even order a person or an online platform to delete/remove images, and there are penalties if they do not comply.
So if you're hearing this thinking, okay, but what do I actually do? Here's the short, real-world plan.
If it's extortion, don't negotiate. The RCMP describes extortion as online blackmail, where someone threatens to share sexual images unless you pay or send them more. Negotiation usually teaches them, you will respond.
Save evidence, then block, then report, and tell someone. You don't have to solve it alone in your notes app at 2 a.m.
In Canada, Cybertip.ca is the national tip line to report online child sexual exploitation, and needhelpnow.ca is made for youth under 18 if a nude or sexual image and video is being shared or threatened. It gives step-by-step actions to regain control.
And if you're in BC and you don't know where to start, Victim Link BC is a 24/7 confidential and connect you to victim services and support. This is not overreacting. This is what these services are made for.
Last thing, prevention isn't never talk to anyone ever. Prevention is keep your life bigger than one private chat because predators need isolation and you deserve safety.
Who? Okay, so now we're defining what this actually is. Let's talk about the part people get wrong the most. Who it happens to. Okay, whom? Like who's most likely to be affected and who are usually the victims. And I want to say this clearly. This isn't about one type of kid. It's not just a naive kid. It's not just the kid who posts too much. It's not just girls. It's about access, age, and how the internet lets strangers, or even people you know, get private time with you. If we're talking police reported online sexual offenses against children in Canada, the pattern is pretty clear. In 2023, Statistics Canada reported that most victims were girls, 77%, and boys, 23%. And age-wise, the large majority of victims were youth aged 12 to 17, which is 82%, with a median age of 14. So when people picture little kids, the data is like no. A lot of time it's middle school and early high school.
And that makes sense because that's the age where you start getting more freedom online. You get your own phone, you get your own accounts, you start having private chats. You're old enough to feel independent, but young enough that being chosen by someone, being noticed, can feel like everything.
But here's what messes with people. Who gets targeted doesn't mean who deserves it. Predators don't pick based on morality, they pick based on opportunity. And sometimes who isn't just the person who replied, the person who stayed in chat, the person who didn't tell anyone yet. That is who gets picked. That's why it can happen to popular kids, smart kids, shy kids, athletes, anybody.
Also, quote, who doesn't always mean adults versus teens. There are cases where the accused is older, but there are also youth involved. Stats can report that when accused were identified in 2023 incidents, the median age of accused men boys was 29, and the median age of accused women and girls was 16. So yes, adults are a major concern, but peer-to-peer harm can be part of this too, especially with the image of sharing pressures.
And to be super real, a lot of victims don't label themselves as victims while it's happening. They think it's a friend, it's a mutual, a teammate, someone who's nice. That's why who gets affected includes people who are just human, people who wanted a connection. There's also another way to answer who. It's not the police stats. It's what teens say they experience. The Canadian Centre for Child Protection Sites estimates that nearly 1/3 of 13 to 18-year-olds in Canada have experienced some sort of online sexual violence. And in their survey of teen victims, 86% said the harm happened in private messaging environments, DMs, closed group chats, and that's just us spaces. So who gets targeted is often the kid who spends a lot of time in private chats where nobody can see what's being said.
Which is why the stereotype it's only kids who post thirst traps is so wrong. Because the most dangerous stuff isn't always public. It's private, it's quiet, it's one person whispering in your phone like they're your whole world.
And if we're talking who is more vulnerable, we should say the uncomfortable part. Kids who are lonely or isolated can be easier to manipulate, not because they're weak, but because predators aim for gaps. StatsCan found that youth who had trouble making friends were more likely to experience cyber victimization like cyberbullying. 23% for youth with no difficulty making friends, rising to 35% for youth who had a lot of difficulty or couldn't make friends. That doesn't mean lonely kids cause this. It means predators and bullies use loneliness like a door that's slightly open.
So, if you're listening and you're like, quote, that's me, I need you to hear this. Being lonely doesn't make you at fault. It just means you deserve more protection and more support. Because people who target others look for emotional openings.
So the answer to who is most likely youth, especially 12 to 17 with a mean age of 14. Mostly girls in police data, but not boys are exempt. And most affected often includes anyone spending time in private messaging because that's where harm is most likely to be happened. Not because you did something wrong, because that's where predators can isolate you.
Where?
Okay, where? The app question. The which platform is it worth question. And we're going to be careful here, because the goal isn't to start a platform war in the comments. It's to talk about where harm actually shows up the most, and why. First, big reality check. A lot of our stuff doesn't happen in some dark corner website. It happens in private messaging, closed chats, DMs, and disagreeing messages. The Canadian Centre for Child Protection has been saying this for a while. And in a survey of Canadian teens who were sexually victimized online, private messaging was a primary facilitator of harm, and Snapchat was the mostly common cited platform.
So instead of ranking apps like good versus evil, we're ranking based on features predators love. Like what makes it easy to isolate you, rush you, and disappear.
Welcome to our Where Risk ladder. Not scientific, just painfully realistic.
Tier 1. Private messaging plus disappearing equals highest risk. Tier 1 is anything that gives someone fast private access and makes evidence harder to keep. So, disappearing messages, vanishing snaps, private DMs, close friends, hidden chats, and anything that feels like just us. And again, this isn't vibes. Canadian teen victimization data points to private messaging as the main setting where this harm plays out, with Snapchat showing up the most.
Because when messages disappear, it also disappears your ability to go, wait, was that real? It makes it hard to screenshot, harder to prove, harder to explain, and predators love anything that keeps you alone and keeps them untraceable.
Tier 2. DMs plus discovery plus mutuals equal the hook zone. Tier 2 is platforms where strangers can find you through discovery, explore pages, suggested accounts, mutuals, comment sections, and as I write into your DMs like it's normal. This is where attentions feel like validation, where a compliment can feel like connection.
And it's also where sextortion shows up a lot, especially targeting boys. The Canadian Centre for Child Protection has reported patterns where adolescent boys were being targeted primarily on Instagram and Snapchat in sextortion scenarios.
So yeah, if the app makes it easy to discover people and easy to DM them privately, that's a combo predators can use.
Tier 3. Servers, group chats, voice chats, fast escalation spaces. Tier 3 is the server style and spaces and voice chat spaces because they can feel like community, but they can also be a shortcut to trust. You laugh together, you play together, you stay up late together, and suddenly a stranger feels like a friend.
And gaming chats fit here too, because voice chat makes you feel like you know someone. No face, no age, just vibes and banter. And predators can literally test boundaries like it's nothing. Don't tell your parents, add my other account, stay on call.
Tier 4. Live/video plus huge reach equals exposure risk. T4 isn't always where grooming starts, but it's where things can spread fast. Live stream, short form videos, big follower lists, public comments. If something gets leaked, posted, or deepfaked, these platforms can make it travel in seconds. So if you want the simplest answer to where does this happen, it's this. It happens whenever a stranger can get private access to you, keep you isolated, and control the pace. Quick prevention lines, so it's not just scary. If you want to lower risk on literally any app, lock down DMs, keep your account private, turn off location sharing, and don't give out school or your grade or your last name like it's nothing.
And if someone tries to platform, hop fast, add my alt, move to Snap. Discord is private, pause. That's not always evil, but it is a classic setup move.
And tell a friend early. Predators hate witnesses.
Okay, that's where. Next up is when? When? Okay, when? Like, when does this happen? Because a lot of people picture little kids, but the data in Canada doesn't really match the stereotype.
But when isn't just age, it's also timing. A lot of risky conversations happen during unmonitored time, after school, late evenings, weekends, times when adults assume you're just scrolling. And predators like those windows because you're more likely to be alone, tired, emotional, or bored.
And when is also about speed. Some grooming is slow, weeks or months, because they're building trust. But some situations escalate fast, like within hours, especially if the goal of sextortion, get something, then threaten you before you can think or tell anyone.
And it tends to happen when supervision drops, privacy increases, and the internet starts feeling like the main place you connect. And to wrap everything up, we're going to have our voicer with Parveen Engineer. Let's welcome Parveen.
Hi.
Hi, Parveen.
Hi. Nice to see you all. Nice to be back.
Yeah, so our first question for you is, what are the biggest online safety issues you see in young people facing right now?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. The biggest things that I see online are things like people trying to exploit youth bullying and harassing online, people making comments on social media that are harmful or hurtful to others. For a while it's been images that are of concern. They're intimate images, as we call them. Also, what I do see a lot of lately is a lot of negative speech towards different groups of people.
Yeah, I would say it's a good point.
Yeah, we also noticed. Do you think like AI coming into like this new generation is kind of also going on where like helping like the youth feel unsafe online, or like easy to exploit them?
So that's a great question, and that's why I paused at the beginning, because would I say it's AI? I think what you have to be able to do is discern what you are seeing hearing online and how you respond to it. AI, of course, is any sort of thing. Anything like AI is going to be a concern and an aspect of is somebody creating something to harm or hurt somebody. So you're always asking yourself those questions. Do I believe what I'm seeing online? I know I am questioning a lot more of even just looking at a picture. Is it AI generated? So, instead of always jumping that this person's talking smack about me online, are they actually talking smack about you, or did somebody create that and post it online pretending to be that? So AI is, there's lots of great things about AI, but there's also a lot of concerns that it's used. It's like anything, right? Can be used beneficially.
That makes a lot of sense. So our next question would be, what do you think are like some common misconceptions teens have about staying safe online?
That is a great question. I think a lot of quite a common misconception teens have about being safe online is that it's not going to happen to me. That I know what I'm doing online. And I always stop and say, you may know what you're doing, but do you know what other people are doing? So it's always questioning those things.
Yeah. That's a good point. Okay. What signs can help young people recognize unsafe or manipulative online behavior?
Wow, you guys, I love your questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Parveen.
First is being able to ask yourself, where is the source coming from?
Yes.
Okay? Ignoring things that maybe the person's looking for a reaction out of you, but is being able to ignore it or seek help. If you're questioning what you're seeing online or hearing online, it's important to get help and to find the right person to help you. You may have to go through several people to get that support.
Yeah. So, how do online predators try to build trust? What should youth watch out for?
If you've never met the person personally, that is your first thing you want. I'm not saying go out and meet this person because I'm not asking you to do that. I don't want you to do that. If this person is a stranger to you or they're a friend of a friend and you've never met them, don't engage with them. Or somebody says, oh, I know this guy and he's good. If you've never interacted with them, don't interact. It's really, you have to question constantly, what is this person's intent? What do they want from me? Do I know them? Are they safe?
Because a lot of teens are like turning to online friendships and relationships instead of like real life. How do you they can still make friends online, but still stay safe because they have to set boundaries. But when do they know this person is a person I need to set boundaries with and this is not?
Could watch some early warning signs.
Early warning signs is when they keep asking you for information over and over again. They try to coerce you to meet them. They want to know personal information. None of that. That's when you start knowing that, who's in your family.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why would I tell you who's in my family? I don't know you. Where do you go to school? What's it to you? It's not your business. Where do I like to go on the weekends? Yeah. It's not for, so that's one way to keep yourself safe is by questioning. Always question and not answer. You don't have to answer. If somebody pressures you to send them photos of you, oh, come on, I just want to see what you look like. Come on. Oh, you're pretty cool. Things like that. Oh, this is a picture of me. How do you know the person sending the picture of them, that's actually them?
That's true.
How do you know? And it's happened to me. I've had a woman pretend to be a man and try and exploit me for money and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know you. Why would I give you information? Basically, the best thing you can do is block.
Yeah.
And get rid of that person. Talk to an adult that you feel safe with. There's numerous people you can talk to. There's a lot of resources that are online that, and the government has great resources I'll share with you.
Why do you think teens nowadays turn more to online relationships than like in real life?
That's a good question. I think most of your life, you guys answer me this. Would you say would you say you spend more time connecting with your friends online than you do in person?
No, unless it's like, do you mean like with different people online and different people in person, or just like with my friends online?
Just in general, like.
I mean, I do a lot of gaming, so like I get into like a lot of chat rooms and I play ranks. So like I feel like you get to know people online, because of course not all the good people who play single game are in Canada. They could be all over the world. So like when I get into these chat rooms and like talk like, oh, do you want to like team up and play this game, or like do you want to conquer this one? It's hard to like really trust them. But I guess for me, when it's just a game, it's okay. I'm not going to talk to them after. But I guess if they do, it's kind of like a let go thing. I don't really care if they talk to me after, because I'll just end up not accepting their friend request. I think my personal viewpoint on that one.
I just like, for me, I tend to just like, I don't play any games on social media or like online, and I don't do much calling or anything. Honestly, I try to avoid like calling because like sometimes you kind of just need like that mental health break as well, like to take time for yourself. Because like I see my friends at school like every day, and I like hang out with them there, and it's like a 6-hour day at school. And I love my friends, but like sometimes I kind of just need like a mental health break for myself and like time to myself. So I don't really go online unless it's like watching shows or something.
Yeah. I mean, on the topic of like things that are good or bad, so according to Canada's statistics, 9 in 10 people have online friends, so that's around 88%. We'll talk a bit about like the bad stuff with online friends. Do you think there's any like good things about it? How it connects like other people?
Oh, so that's a great question. So I think about my career with working with youth, and I've seen the stuff that happens online where you have that predatory behavior where somebody's pretending to be a youth and then taking advantage of somebody and then showing up. And then I've seen people who don't have as many friends at school have friends online, and they feel more comfortable. It really opened my eyes to what friendship looks like for your generation. It looks a lot different. And I think there are safe people because you have that gut feeling, like, is this person safe or not? You know, but again, you never start out with giving too much information. You just give your first name, not your last name. See what they're trying to get out of you. Like, how do you know that person is actually a kid, a youth your age, right?
Yeah, like a good way to also maybe find out is ask them about like what's going on, like maybe like social media, like, oh, you see that latest post, but like I don't know, like celebrity like Tate McRae, you see her like new song or something like that.
Yeah, and also how long does it take them to respond to you? Because then are they using the internet or AI to answer that question?
Yeah, and then like match your kind of tone and your like vibes. They can use AI to like match it up.
Yeah, they can.
So one more question. How can online interactions affect a young person's confidence or stress levels?
Wow, that's a great question. Again, a lot. It can, depending if the person's being extorted or false information. I will give you an example where people say that a friend did this to them and it's not true, but everybody this is the problem, is that everybody believes it without knowing actually what happened or being there. So say I'm out with my best friend and they fell down, and then I make up a story that's not true about them.
Yeah.
I was the only one there, but now everybody online is believing that story, and they're all like calling that person a name, They're like, oh, you can't walk. You're so, make fun of them. So, can you ask that question again?
How do you, oh, sorry.
Yes, okay.
How can online interactions affect a young person's confidence or stress level?
A lot. Again, so by bullying, by extortion, so it can cause mental health, it can cause people to become isolated. And we also know that it's caused kids to unfortunately take their own lives or harm themselves. A lot of misconception too is kids will self-diagnose online, and that's wrong. You need a doctor to do that, or a medical practitioner. What you see online isn't all the information you're getting. And what resources do you guys have, to keep you safe?
Yeah, as a group, we went to do a streeter, so we interviewed the public. I think the point of talking about, confidence is really key. I think a few people talked to us about how, the internet changed their perspective of themselves and how they needed help after.
How they what?
How they needed help after because they were dealing with the law. Because everyone online, of course, posts their best self or maybe not even themselves. So there was this one girl we were talking to, and she was like, "Oh, I was really heavily impacted, and I really should have listened to my mom." It was something that I think really connected with this question.
Yeah, and there are a lot of communities on the internet which are heavily promoting eating disorders.
Yeah,
I heard there's eating Twitter, eating Tumblr. I don't know.
One last final question to finish up the interview. What resources do you think or organizations, people going through online predation or that don't feel safe online, which resources do you think they could go to or organizations that could help them?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the BC government, again, it has Take Back My Photo, Erase BC, your SLO, your principal. If it's a school issue and you're not certain, talk to your counselor, talk to your principal. There's many online platforms. If something is of criminal of nature, which having photos, intimate photos of other people without their permission on your phone, and depending on age, is not okay criminally, right? It's always good to ask questions. If you feel safe with your parents, have a conversation about that with them. Your doctor. Right? You can Google, there's a lot of online resources. The sassy worker at your school, but they're another resource that you have, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, guys, what's coming next? So throughout our podcast, we'll break down grooming step by step. How it starts, how it escalates, and how to recognize red flags early, and what steps to take if you're in these situations. In our next episode, we'll begin talking about the meta apps, with our first app being Facebook, the oldest of the meta apps. This is caught on the web, and sometimes the biggest danger isn't being online, it's trusting the wrong person behind the screen. This episode is made possible by Mr. Steaks. I'm Leah, joined by Alina, Riti, Nashi, and Sab. Thank you for listening.